back to my channel. This is Dori, I'm a teacher of English, and today we're going to talk about the top 15 IELTS writing tips that you should keep in your mind. So, let's get started. Tip number 1, avoid contractions of verbs in formal essays. For example, avoid using isn't, don't, can't, will not, won't instead of will not, is not, do not, cannot. So in formal essays, don't use the apostrophe, always use the whole two words or one word in case of cannot. Okay, you can still use contractions of verbs in general writing task 1, but only if you're asked to send a letter to a friend or a very close relative. If you're asked to write a formal letter, again, avoid using contractions of verbs. Tip number 2, you usually take this for granted or you're not thinking about that at all, but please try to express your ideas clearly. Sometimes you may have a lot of ideas in your own personal thinking and you think that your reader can't keep up with that, but the reader is not in your mind. So how you can do that in practice? Take your ideas step by step, express them on paper in this way, and always ask yourself, if someone else reads what I'm writing, will he understand what I'm trying to say? Tip number 3. I know that you think that if you use complex phrasing in your essays, you're going to get more marks, but really this is actually true only if you know 100% how to use complex phrasing in the correct way. If you don't and you try to do that, you're bound, this will count against you because you're bound to make even more mistakes in both grammar and syntax. So use complex phrasing only if you're 100% sure that you know what you're doing. If you want a step-by-step guide of how to use complex phrasing, you can watch this video over here in this link. Tip number 4, academic vocabulary and the variety of it is really important too. We know that, but again, keep in your mind that you cannot just use words that you think are academic, but you've only heard them once and you don't know how they are used in context. So learn your new vocabulary with examples of how these words are used and then try to use them in your own essays. If these words are not appropriately used in context in your essay, you're going to lose points for that. Tip number 5, be the leader and guide your reader. What do I mean by that? State in your essay what you're going to write about. You can do that in your introduction and you can do that in the opening sentence of the rest of your paragraphs. So if you do that, you're organized, the reader really knows what to expect and you've got his full attention. Also, you get to be more structured and you're less likely to get off track or off topic if you do that beforehand. Tip number 6, paragraphs are your friends. Students tend to forget to separate their paragraphs clearly, and sometimes they don't separate any paragraphs at all. You're going to lose points for that. It affects the structure and the whole appearance of your essay, of the whole essay. So please don't forget your paragraphs. As a general rule, you need 1 paragraph for your introduction, 2 or 3 paragraphs for the main body, and 1 paragraph for your conclusion. So please do keep that in mind. It's so easy to do it, okay? Tip number 7, be careful of punctuation. Always students do forget that, but it is vital. It is not considered a minor thing. Punctuation is really important in English, and by punctuation I basically mean to use your commas in the right way. Yes, a comma is important. So how do we use them? Basically, you use commas to separate the same things in a sentence. For example, she went shopping and bought a lipstick, a blouse, and a pair of shoes. Okay, we need a comma between these nouns to separate parts of a list. So basically, when you say firstly, comma, secondly, comma, thirdly, comma, first of all, comma, you use all these phrases in your writing, so make sure that you put a comma after them to separate 2 parts of the same sentence. You always use although and however in your writings. However, sometimes you don't use them in the correct syntax. For example, let's have a look at these two examples. Although he had drunk lots of water, comma, he was still thirsty. And now let's see, however. He had drunk lots of water, full stop. However, comma, he was still thirsty. So this is the way you need to use them, with the commas, with the full stops, and with the whole syntactical structure. With conditionals, we use a comma. If they do that, comma, animals will still be in danger of extinction, for example. And basically with all linking phrases that you're going to use, for example, comma, for instance, comma, overall, in conclusion, to sum up, to conclude, comma, on the one hand, on the other hand, always, always, always use a comma after linking phrase. Number 8, avoid using informal and casual vocabulary in formal essays. For example, avoid using casual phrasal verbs such as give up. You can use quit instead, and avoid using informal phrases that we use in speaking in your writings, such as of course, okay, really, alright. Don't do that. You can do that in general task 1, but only if you write a letter or an email to a very close friend or relative. As a general rule, avoid these phrases in your writings. Tip number 9, try to use the passive voice as much as you can in your formal essays, because it is considered more formal and more academic. So, for example, instead of saying I implemented the method, you can use the method was implemented. Try to do that as much as you can, because it will improve the academic appearance of your writing. If you want to refresh your memory on passive voice, you can do this here in this video over here. Tip number 10, stay on topic throughout your essay. This may be considered self-explanatory, but actually students, especially in task 2, which is more difficult, tend to get off track, especially if they have a lot of ideas to write about. So never forget what is the actual question of the topic and be specific in your answer. One thing that will help you with that is to underline the most important points and be precise in your plan. Tip number 11, avoid using and or but at the beginning of the sentence. It is considered a little bit abrupt. Less advanced users of English do that, but really prefer however instead of using but at the beginning of a sentence. And if you want to use and, prefer in addition, additionally, or also instead of using and. It will be a lot better and more formal. Tip number 11, use linking phrases in between paragraphs. It is very good to use a linking phrase in order to start a new paragraph. If you're adding a new point in your new paragraph that justifies the same idea, you can use a linking phrase that does that. For example, in addition, additionally, also, another point another point that I want to make. Or if you want to say something entirely different and differentiate the new paragraph from the previous one, you can use phrases like on the other hand, however, let us not forget the fact that. Actually, there are lots of phrases for everything you need to say. So don't forget to use them, because they will really help with the cohesion and coherence of your writing, which leads us to our next tip. Tip number 13, cohesion and coherence. Your writing is marked by these two friends, and if your essay lacks in these two or both of them, cohesion and coherence, you're about to lose valuable points for your essay. Basically what this means is how your ideas are organized and how they are connected with one another, and how smoothly one idea or one thought follows the previous one. So if you want a guide on cohesion and coherence and how you can achieve that in your essays, you can watch this video over here in this link. Tip number 14, task 2 is worth double the marks of task 1. So it is considered more important and you're going to get more marks for it. So time management is really it's going to help you here. Try to use 20 minutes the most in order to write task 1, and then leave 40 minutes in order to do your best at task 2 topics. Tip number 15, underline what you are asked in the topic. You'd better do that in all tasks. In general task 1, the topic guides you. It gives you the bullet points and the ideas that they want you to talk about. So underline these bullet points, take down your own notes, your own ideas, an example, what you need to write about, and follow this plan as it is. Use, as a general rule, use one paragraph for each bullet point. In academic task 1, you can do that too. You have a lot of information to think about. Underline keywords in the topic and then read carefully the picture, the diagram that you're given, and then circle or underline the highest value, the lowest value, the two axes if they exist. And this will really help you to be organized and focused on what you need to write about and on the most important points basically. In task 2, the topic is going to be a little bit more demanding, so underline what you need exactly to write about. Then decide beforehand if it is a advantages essay, problem solution essay, a discussion essay, an opinion essay, and decide where you stand and follow this plan according to the question and what kind of essay it is. This will greatly help you with your cohesion and structure. As a general rule, these are the main points you need to consider. Each task has different details and different tips, but these tips are going to help you with whatever tasks you may come across. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it helps. If this is your first time here, I would like to see you subscribe for more videos related to English. If you have any questions or comments, you can ask me here or on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and of course my website. All links are down below. Thank you very much for watching again. Take care. Bye-bye.